Jake Morrison wiped the sweat from his forehead as he crouched behind a large rock. The alien sun beat down on his back, making his uniform stick to his skin. He had been fighting on this planet for 6 months now, and the heat still bothered him. The red sand stretched out in all directions, broken only by strange purple plants that grew in twisted shapes. "Sir, are you seeing this?" Lisa Hayes whispered into her radio. She was lying flat on her belly about 20 feet away, looking through her scope at the building ahead of them. Jake pulled out his binoculars and looked where she was pointing. In the distance, he could see a Zephyrian outpost. It looked empty. Too empty. The tall silver building stood silent in the afternoon heat. No movement, no guards, nothing. Right. Kevin Park said from his position on the other side. Of the rocks, the lizards never leave their bases unguarded. Jake knew Kevin was right. Zephyrians were not lizards, but most human soldiers called them that anyway. They looked more like walking crystals with arms and legs. Their skin was hard and shiny, like colored glass. They were smart, fast, and very dangerous. Maybe they all left, Lisa said, but she did not sound like she believed it. Jake studied the outpost again. 3 years of war had taught him to trust. His feelings, and right now, his feelings were screaming that something was wrong. But they had orders. Command wanted them to check out this place and see if the Zephyrians had left any useful technology behind. "We go in slow," Jake said. "Lisa, you stay here and watch our backs. Kevin, you're with me. If anything goes wrong..." Lisa calls for backup and gets out of here. "Sir, I should go with you," Lisa said. "No, someone needs to be alive to tell Command what happened if this goes bad." Jake checked his weapon one more time. The pulse rifle felt heavy in his hands. He had killed many Zephyrians with this gun. He wondered how many more he would have to kill before this war ended. The two men moved forward slowly, using the rocks and strange plants for cover. The outpost grew larger as they got closer. Jake could see that the buildings were made of the same crystal-like material as Zephyrian skin. It was beautiful in a way, but also cold and alien. They reached the outer wall without any trouble. Jake pressed his back against the warm crystal surface and listened. Nothing. No sounds of life from inside. "Maybe they really did leave," Kevin whispered. Jake shook his head. "Stay alert." They found an opening in the wall and slipped inside. The buildings were even stranger up close. The walls seemed to glow with their own light, and the air hummed with energy. Jake had been in Zephyrian buildings before. They still made him feel uncomfortable. The first building they checked was empty. So was the second. Jake began to think maybe they had been wrong. Maybe the Zephyrians really had left this place. Then he heard it. A soft sound, like crying. Jake held up his hand to stop Kevin from moving. They both listened. There it was again. It was coming from the largest building in the center of the outpost. They moved toward the sound, weapons ready. The crying got louder as they got closer. It did not sound like a Zephyrian warrior. It sounded like a child. Jake peered around the corner of the building. Aside, he could see a small Zephyrian sitting in the corner. It was tiny, maybe the size of a 6-year-old. Human child. Its crystal skin was a soft blue color and it was making sad musical sounds. "It's just a kid," Kevin said. "Zephyrian kids grow up to be Zephyrian soldiers," Jake replied, but his voice was soft. He did not like seeing any child cry, even an alien one. The child looked up and saw them. Its large violet eyes went wide with fear, pressed itself against the wall and cried harder. Jake lowered his weapon. "It's okay," he said, even though he knew the child could not understand him. "No, we're not going to hurt you." That was when everything went wrong. The walls around them suddenly became transparent, and Jake could see Zephyrian warriors standing on the other side. They had been there all along, hidden by some kind of technology. The whole outpost was a trap. "Run," Jake shouted, but it was too late. The Zephyrians burst through the walls from all sides. Their weapons made a high-pitched whining sound as they fired. Jake dove to the ground and rolled behind a crystal pillar. Kevin was not fast enough. A blue beam hit him in the chest, and he fell down hard. Jake fired back, his pulse rifle making sharp cracking sounds. He hit one of the Zephyrians, and it fell backward with a crash. But there were too many of them. He counted at least 8, maybe more. human soldiers. One of the Zephyrians shouted in broken English, "You come to kill our young?" Jake looked around the pillar. The Zephyrian who had spoken was taller than the others, with darker crystal skin. A commander, probably. She was standing near the child, who was still crying in the corner. "We came to check the outpost," Jake called back. "We didn't know about—" "The child lies," the commander shouted. "Her kind kills without thought. You destroyed our colonies. You murdered our people." Jake knew she was talking about the battles from last year. Both sides had done terrible things. War made monsters of everyone. More Zephyrians appeared from other buildings. Jake was completely surrounded. His radio crackled with Lisa's voice, asking what was happening, but he could not answer. He was too busy trying to stay alive. One of the Zephyrians pulled out a weapon Jake had never seen before. It was round and glowing like a small sun. The alien aimed it at the building where the child was hiding. "No." The commander shouted, but it was too late. The weapon fired. A ball of white-hot energy flew toward the child. The little Zephyrian looked up, its violet eyes reflecting the deadly light racing toward it. Jake did not think, just moved. He threw himself out from behind the pillar and ran toward the child. The energy ball was moving fast, but Jake was closer. He reached the child just as the weapon's blast arrived. Jake grabbed the small Zephyrian and pulled it against his chest, then turned his back to the explosion. The energy hit him like a giant hammer. Pain exploded through his body as the blast threw him forward. He felt his skin burning and his bones breaking, but he held on to the child. They hit the ground hard. Jake could taste blood in his mouth. His back felt like it was on fire, and he could not feel his legs. But the child in his arms was moving, was alive. The commander was screaming something in the Zephyrian language. Jake could not understand the words, but the tone was clear. She was very angry at the soldier who had fired. Jake tried to sit up, but his body would not obey him. The child squirmed out of his arms and looked at him with those big violet eyes. It reached out with one small crystal hand and touched his face gently. "Uncle," the child said in English. It was the first word Jake had ever heard, a Zephyrian. Child speak in his language. The commander knelt down beside them. Up close, Jake could see that her crystal skin was a deep purple color, like an amethyst. Her eyes were the same violet as the child's, but older and sadder. "Why?" she asked Jake. "Why did you save her?" Jake coughed, and more blood came out of his mouth. "Because she's just a kid," he said. The commander stared at him for a long moment. Then she said something in her own language to the other Zephyrians. They lowered their weapons. "You are hurt badly," she said to Jake. "You may die." "Maybe," Jake whispered. "But she's okay. That's what matters." The child was still touching his face, making soft musical sounds. Not crying anymore, but something else. Something that sounded almost like singing. The commander looked at Jake with an expression he could not read. "I am Thyra Veltar," she said. "This is my daughter, Kira. You saved her life." Jake tried to smile, but it hurt too much. "Jake Morrison." "And you're welcome." Jake Morrison, Thyra, repeated carefully. "You have done something I did not think any human could do. You have shown honor." Jake's vision was getting blurry. He could hear Lisa's voice on the radio, getting more worried by the second. But he could not reach the radio. He could not move at all. "Sleep now," Thyra said. "I will make sure you are cared for. A life debt has been created here today, one that I will not forget." The last thing Jake saw before darkness took him was little Kira's violet eyes, full of trust and gratitude. The last thing he heard was her soft singing, a sound that somehow made the pain go away. Then everything went black. Jake woke up slowly, like swimming up from deep water. His whole body ached, and there was a strange taste in his mouth. He tried to open his eyes, but the light was too bright. Everything was blurry and white. "He is awake," said a voice he recognized. Thyra. Jake blinked several times until his vision cleared. He was lying on something soft, but it was not a human bed. The walls around him were made of the same crystal material as the outpost, but they glowed with a soft, warm light. Equipment that looked nothing like human technology hummed quietly nearby. "Where am I?" Jake asked. His voice sounded rough and weak. "We're in our medical facility," Thyra said. She was sitting in a chair beside his bed, still wearing her military uniform. You have been unconscious for 3 days. Jake tried to sit up, but pain shot through his back and chest. He fell back down with a groan. Do not move too much, Thyra said. Your injuries were severe. The blast damaged your spine and burned much of your back. Our doctors saved your life, but you will need time to heal. My team, Jake said. Kevin, Lisa, are they okay? Your friend Kevin is alive. He was wounded, but will recover. The female soldier escaped and called for help. We captured the rescue team when they arrived. Jake closed his eyes. He had hoped Lisa would get away, but he was not surprised that she had tried to help him. That was the kind of person she was. They are being held in the prisoner compound, Thyra continued. They are safe, but they are not happy about your situation. My situation? Thyra was quiet for a moment. You are my prisoner now, I claimed. You, according to our laws, is the only way I could keep you alive. Jake did not understand. What do you mean? When a warrior saves the life of another's child, it creates a bond, a debt. My people wanted to execute you and your friends, but I invoked the old laws. You saved Kira's life with your own body. That makes you part of my family now, whether you want to be or not. Before Jake could ask more questions, the door to the room opened. A small figure ran in, moving faster than Jake thought possible. It was Kira, the Zephyrian child he had saved. Uncle Jake, she said in her musical voice. She had learned more English words. Kira climbed carefully onto the bed and sat beside Jake. Her crystal skin was a bright blue today, brighter than when he had first seen her. She looked happy. Hello, Kira, Jake said softly. Are you okay? Okay, Kira said, patting his arm gently with her small hand. You hurt bad, but doctors fix you. She has been asking about you every day, Thyra said. There was something in her voice that Jake could not identify. She wants to know when you will be strong enough to play with her. Play, Jake asked. Is 6 years old, Thyra said. At that age, everything is about play. She does not understand that you are supposed to be our enemy. Jake looked at the child sitting beside him. Her violet eyes were bright with curiosity and affection. She had no idea that his people and her people were trying to kill each other. Maybe that is a good thing, Jake said. Over the next few days, Jake learned more about his strange situation. He was technically a prisoner, but he was treated more like a guest. Thyra visited him every morning and evening, bringing him food and checking on his recovery. Kira came to see him several times each day, chattering away in a mixture of English and her own language. The Zephyrian doctors were amazed by how quickly Jake was healing. He told them that human bodies were tougher than they had expected. Jake did not tell them that he had always been a fast healer, even before the war. Your friends are not pleased with this arrangement, Thyra said one evening, as she brought him dinner. The food was strange, but not bad. Tasted like vegetables, but it was purple and glowed slightly. What do you mean? Jake asked. I think. You are a traitor now. Say you should have died rather than accept help from us. Jake was quiet for a moment. He had been afraid of this. What do you think? I think you are the first human I have met who values life more than pride, Thyra said Led. That is not something I expected to find in a soldier. We are not all monsters, Jake said. No, Thyra agreed. Neither are we. But this war has made us forget that. As Jake got stronger, he began to walk around the medical facility. The first time he saw other Zephyrians, they stared at him with curiosity and suspicion. Word had spread about the human who had saved a Zephyrian child. Some seemed to respect him for it. Others clearly did not trust him. They do not know what to make of you, Thyra explained as they walked through a garden area. The plants here were even stranger than the ones on the surface. They moved on their own, reaching toward the light like slow dancers. I do not know what to make of me either, Jake admitted. A month ago I was trying to kill your people. Now I am living among you. Do you regret it? Thyra asked. Saving Kira? No, Jake said without hesitation. I would do it again. Even knowing what it would cost you? Jake thought about his friends in the prison compound. He thought about Lisa, who had been his partner for 2 years. He thought about his life in the human military, which was probably over now. Yes, he said she is just a child. Children should not have to pay for the mistakes of adults. Thyra stopped walking and looked at him. You speak like a father. I do not have any children, Jake said. But I remember being one. I remember what it felt like to be afraid and helpless. Kira was not afraid when you saved her, Thyra said. She was afraid before, when the shooting started. But when you held her, she felt safe. She told me later that you smelled like protection. Did not know what to say to that. That night, Jake had trouble sleeping. His back was still sore, and he kept thinking about his situation. He was a prisoner, but he was also something else. Something that did not have a name in either language. He was still awake when Kira appeared in his doorway. She was wearing what looked like pajamas made of soft, flexible crystal material. "Uncle Jake," she whispered. "You okay?" "I am fine, little one," Jake said. "Why are you not sleeping?" "Bad dream," Kira said. She came into the room and climbed onto his bed. "Can I stay here?" Jake looked toward the door, expecting Thyra to appear and tell her daughter to go back to her own room. But no one came. "Why? Suppose it is okay," Jake said, "but just for a little while." Kira curled up next to him like a small, warm crystal cat. Within minutes, she was asleep, making soft, musical sounds that Jake realized were like snoring. Jake lay awake for a long time, listening to the child breathe. He thought about the war and all the violence he had seen, thought about the Zephyrian colonies that had been destroyed, and the human settlements that had been attacked in return. So much death and anger. But here in this quiet room, with an alien child sleeping trustingly beside him, the war seemed far away and pointless. The next morning, Thyra found them like that. She stood in the doorway for a moment, looking at Jake and Kira sleeping peacefully together. "She has not slept through the night since her father died," Thyra said quietly. "You are good for her." "She is good for me too," Jake said. "I know," Thyra said. "That is what worries me." "Why?" Thyra sat down in the chair beside the bed. "Because this cannot last forever. Eventually, this war will end, one way or another. And when it does, you will have to choose which side you belong to." Jake looked down at Kira, who was still sleeping. Her crystal skin was a soft pink now, the color of contentment. "Maybe," Jake said, "or maybe there is a third choice. Maybe some of us can choose to belong to both sides." Thyra was quiet for a long time. "That is a dangerous thing to hope for," she said finally. "Yes," Jake agreed. "Yes. But it might be the only hope we have." Outside, the alien sun was rising, painting the crystal walls with warm light. Kira stirred in her sleep and made a happy sound. For just a moment, Jake could imagine a world where human and Zephyrian children could play together without fear. It was a dangerous dream, but it was also a beautiful one. Stop. And as Jake watched the child sleep, he decided it was worth fighting for. 3 weeks had passed since Jake first woke up in the Zephyrian medical facility. His back had healed well, and he could walk without pain now. The doctor said he was strong enough to leave the medical wing, but Thyra had arranged for him to stay in a small room near her family quarters instead of the prisoner compound. "The other prisoners will not understand," Thyra had explained. "They already think you have betrayed them. It is better if you stay separate for now." Jake knew she was right, but it still made him feel guilty. Every day he lived in comfort while his friends were locked up in basic prison cells. He had asked to visit them, but Thyra always found reasons to delay it. "Uncle Jake, look what I made," Kira said, running into his room with something in her hands. She was getting better at English every day, and Jake was learning some words. In her language too, Kira showed him a small crystal sculpture. It looked like a human and a Zephyrian standing together, holding hands. The detail was amazing for something made by a 6-year-old. "This is beautiful," Jake said, taking it carefully. "Who taught you to make things like this?" "Mama showed me," Kira said proudly. "She makes big ones for the temples. But I wanted to make a little one for you." Jake felt his throat tighten. The sculpture was clearly meant to be him and Kira. "Thank you. I will keep it always. You promise?" "I promise." Kira beamed and climbed onto his lap. This had become their routine. She would come to his room after her lessons, and they would talk or play simple games. Sometimes she would ask him about Earth and humans. Jake told her about trees and oceans and snow, things that did not exist on her world. "Tell me about your mama again," Kira said, settling against his chest. Jake had told her about his mother many times, but Kira never got tired of hearing the stories. She had long brown hair and green eyes. She used to sing to me when I was scared. Like I sing? To you? Yes, exactly like that. Kira had started singing to Jake when he had nightmares about the war. Her voice was sweet and musical, and it always helped him sleep. He had begun to think of her as the daughter he had never had. Will I ever meet her? Kira asked. Jake's heart hurt. I do not know, little one. She is very far away. Maybe someday. The war will end, and we can all be together. Maybe, Jake said, but he did not believe it would be that simple. Later that evening, Thyra came to his room as she did every night. She brought him dinner and stayed to eat with him. Over the weeks, these conversations had become the best part of Jake's day. Kira gave you another sculpture, Thyra observed, noticing the crystal figures on his table. She has real talent, Jake said. She gets it from you. How do you know I make sculptures? She told me. She says you make big ones for the temples. Thyra smiled. She talks too much sometimes. Yes, I used to be an artist before the war. I made memorial sculptures for families who lost loved ones. What made you become a soldier? Thyra's expression grew sad. The same thing that made you one. Imagine, my world was attacked and I wanted to protect it. They ate in comfortable silence for a while. Jake had learned that Thyra was not just any soldier. She was a high-ranking commander who had won many battles against human forces. The fact that she was treating him with kindness instead of hatred was something he still did not fully understand. My superiors are asking questions, Thyra said finally. What kind of questions? They want to know why I'm keeping you alive, why I'm not getting useful information from you. They think I am being weak. Jake set down his fork. What do you tell them? I tell them that you are more valuable as a symbol than as a source of intelligence. A human who saved a Zephyrian child shows that peace might be possible. Do they believe that? Some do. Others think I should execute you and end this distraction. Felt a chill. What do you think? Dira looked at him for a long moment. I think you have changed something in me that I did not expect to change. 3 months ago, I would have killed you without hesitation. Now I find myself caring what happens to you. Is that bad? It is dangerous for both of us. The next day, Jake was walking in the garden when he heard familiar voices. He looked through the crystal fence and saw his fellow prisoners being moved from one building to another. Lisa was among them, and she saw him too. Jake, she called out. Jake, are you okay? The Zephyrian guards tried to move the prisoners along, but Lisa broke away and ran to the fence. I've been so worried, she said, gripping the crystal bars. They would not tell us anything about you. Are you hurt? I am fine, Jake said, coming closer to the fence. How's everyone? Angry, Lisa said honestly. They think you have joined the enemy. Kevin defends you, but the others say you are a traitor. Jake felt his heart sink. What do you think? Lisa studied his face. I think you did what you always do. You put someone else's life before your own? But Jake, these are not our people. They are the enemy, are they? Jake asked. Lisa, I have been living among them for weeks. They are not monsters. They're just people trying to survive like we are. They killed thousands of our people, Lisa said angrily. They destroyed entire colonies. And we killed thousands of theirs, Jake replied. We destroyed their colonies too. When does it end? Lisa stared at him. I do not recognize you anymore. What have they done to you? They've saved my life. They have been kind to me. They have shown me that this war does not have to go on forever. Jake, listen to yourself. You are talking like you care more about them than about us. Before Jake could answer, Thyra appeared beside him. Lisa stepped back from the fence, her hand moving toward her weapon before she remembered she did not have one. Commander Morrison, Thyra said formally. I see you have found our prisoners. I wanted to check on my friends, Jake said. Is her? Lisa asked, staring at Thyra, the one who captured you. This is Commander Thyra Veltar, Jake said. She is the one who saved my life. Lisa looked back and forth between Jake and Thyra. You are close to her. She is my friend, Jake said simply. Your friend? Lisa's voice was full of disbelief. Jake, she is a Zephyrian commander. She has probably killed dozens of our people. I have killed dozens of hers, Jake said. Does that mean we can never be anything but enemies? Yes, Lisa said firmly. That is exactly what it means. Thyra had been listening to this conversation with growing tension. Your friend does not trust easily, she said to Jake. She has good reason not to, Jake replied. This war has hurt everyone, Uncle Jake. Kira's voice came from across the garden. She was running toward them, her crystal skin bright with excitement. I finished my lessons early. Can we play now? Kira reached them and immediately hugged Jake's legs. Then she looked at Lisa through the fence with curious eyes. Who is this? Kira asked in English. This is my friend Lisa, Jake said. Lisa, this is Kira. Lisa stared at the child with shock. This is the one you saved? Yes, Jake said. Kira, say hello to Lisa. Hello, Lisa, Kira said politely. Are you a soldier like Uncle Jake? Lisa's expression softened slightly. Yes, I am. You want to play with us? Kira asked innocently. I cannot, Lisa said, looking confused. I am a prisoner. Why? Kira asked. Did you do something bad? She is from the other side, Thyra explained. Gently, her people and our people are fighting. That is silly, Kira said. Fighting is dumb. We should all be friends. Lisa looked at Jake with new understanding. This is why you stayed. For her. Partly, Jake admitted. Bored. But also because I think she might be right. Maybe fighting is dumb. You really believe that? Want to believe it? Jake said. Lisa, I know this is hard to understand. Living here has shown me that Zephyrians are not evil. They love their children just like we do. They grieve for their dead just like we do. They want peace just like we do. But they started this war, Lisa said. Did they? Jake asked. Or did we? Does it matter who started it if we can find a way to end it? Lisa was quiet for a long time. Then she said, the Lisa who knew you before the war would have said you were crazy. But looking at you now, with this child who obviously loves you, I do not know what to think anymore. Think about what kind of world we want to leave for children like Kira, Jake said. Think about whether this war is worth their future. Guards were calling for the prisoners to move along. Lisa looked at Jake one more time. Be careful, she said. Whatever you are doing here, be careful. Not everyone on either side will understand. I know, Jake said. But some risks are worth taking. Lisa nodded and rejoined the other prisoners. Jake watched her go, feeling sad but also hopeful. If Lisa could begin to understand, maybe others could too. She cares about you, Thyra observed. Wes? Jake said. She does. More than as a friend? Jake looked at her. Maybe. But that was before all this. Before I became something neither fully human nor Zephyrian. You are still human, Thyra said softly. Am I? Sometimes I am not sure anymore. Kira tugged on Jake's shirt. Uncle Jake, you look sad. Did the lady make you sad? No, little one, Jake said, picking her up. I am not sad. I am just thinking about the future. What about the future? Jake looked at Thyra, then at the fence. Where Lisa had been, then at the bright alien sky above them. I am thinking about how to make it better, he said. The alarm started screaming at 3 in the morning. Jake woke up instantly, his soldier training kicking in. The red lights flashing outside his window meant only one thing. The facility was under attack. Uncle Jake. Kira burst into his room, her crystal skin flickering with fear. She was still in her sleeping clothes, and her eyes were wide with terror. Jake picked her up quickly. It is okay, little one. I am here. What is happening? Kira asked, burying her face against his shoulder. Before Jake could answer, Thyra appeared. In the doorway, she was wearing her battle armor and carrying her weapon. Her face was grim. Human rescue forces, she said quickly. A full assault team. They are here for you and the other prisoners. Jake felt his heart jump. Part of him wanted to be rescued, to go home to his own people. But another part of him was afraid of leaving Kira and Thyra, afraid of going back to a war he no longer believed in. We need to get to the safe room, Thyra said, motioning for them to follow her. They ran through the corridors as explosions shook the building. Jake could hear the sound of human pulse rifles and Zephyrian energy weapons. The battle was intense and getting closer. I am scared, Kira said as they ran. I know, baby, Thyra said. But Uncle Jake will keep you safe. He always does. They reached the safe room just as a section of the outer wall exploded inward. Through the smoke and debris, Jake could see human soldiers in combat armor moving through the breach. His heart leaped when he recognized the leader, Captain Ben Sullivan. Jake whispered. Ben had been his commanding officer before the war. A good man and a good soldier. Jake. Ben's voice boomed across the chaos. Jake Morrison, we are here to get you out. Jake looked at Thyra and Kira. The child was trembling in his arms, and Thyra was preparing to fight. The humans got closer. There would be a battle. People would die. Maybe Thyra. Maybe Kira. I have to go to them, Jake said. No, Thyra said firmly. It is too dangerous. My people will not let you pass. They will think you are escaping. But if I do not go there, we'll be fighting. You could be killed. That does not matter, Thyra said. Keeping you and Kira safe matters. Jake made a decision. Stay here with Kira. Keep her safe. I will handle this. Before Thyra could stop him, Jake ran toward the breach in the wall. Soldiers were taking defensive positions ready to fight the human rescue team. Jake pushed past them, ignoring their shouts of confusion. Ben, Jake called out. Ben, I am here. Captain Sullivan turned and saw Jake running toward him. Jake, thank God. Are you hurt? I am fine, Jake said, reaching the human soldiers. But you need to stop this attack. Now. What are you talking about? Ben asked, confused. We came to rescue you. Grab your gear and let us go. I am not leaving, Jake said. The other human soldiers stared at him in shock. Ben looked like Jake had slapped him. What'd you say? I said I am not leaving. These people saved my life. They have been kind to me. I will not run away and leave. Them to die. Jake, you have been a prisoner for over a month, Ben said slowly. They have brainwashed you. No one has brainwashed me, Jake said. I have learned the truth. This war is wrong, Ben. We are fighting people who are just like us. They are the enemy? Ben said angrily. They killed our people, and we killed theirs. When does it end? The fighting around them had stopped. Both human and Zephyrian soldiers were listening to the conversation, unsure what to do. Jake, I have orders to bring you home, Ben said. Dead or alive? Then you will have to make it dead, Jake replied, because I am not leaving. That was when the second explosion happened. A human grenade went off near the safe room where Thyra and Kira were hiding. Jake heard Kira scream, and his blood turned to ice. Kira, he shouted, running back toward the safe room. He did not care about the battle anymore. All he cared about was getting to the child. He found Thyra pulling Kira from under a pile of debris. The little girl was bleeding from a cut on her forehead, and she was crying hysterically. Uncle Jake. Kira reached for him with both arms. Jake took her gently, checking her injuries. The cut was not deep, but she was clearly scared and hurt. It is okay, he whispered. I am here. You are safe now. Thyra looked at him with something like amazement. You came back. Of course I came back, Jake said. Where else would I go? Captain Sullivan appeared behind them, his weapon lowered. He looked at Jake holding the alien child, and his expression changed from anger to confusion. This is what you stayed for? He asked quietly. Zephyrian kid? Her name is Kira, Jake said. Then yes, this is what I stayed for, her and her mother. Ben looked at Thyra, who was watching him warily. You are the commander who captured Jake? Ah, I'm Commander Thera Veltar, she said proudly. And I did not capture him. I saved him. Saved him. He was dying from his injuries, Thyra explained. My doctors healed him. I could have let him die, but he had saved my daughter's life. Honor demanded that I repay the debt. Ben was quiet for a moment, processing this information. You saved each other. Yes, Thyra said simply. Jake looked around at the destruction caused by the rescue attempt. Human and Zephyrian soldiers were scattered throughout the facility, but the fighting had stopped. Everyone was watching this strange conversation between enemies. Ben, Jake said carefully, there is something you need to know about this war. Something Command has not told you. What do you mean? Jake looked at Thyra, who nodded slightly. They had talked about this many times during the long evenings in her quarters. The war started because of a mistake, Jake said. 3 years ago, a human colony ship fired on a Zephyrian diplomatic vessel. It was an accident, but the Zephyrians did not know that. That is impossible, Ben said. The Zephyrians attacked our colonies first, Thyra said sadly. We attacked in response to what we thought was an unprovoked assault on our peace mission. The ship that was destroyed carried my husband, Kira's father. The silence that followed was deafening. Jake could see the shock on Ben's face as he processed this revelation. You were saying this whole war started because of a misunderstanding? Ben asked. Yes, Jake said. And it has continued because both sides are too proud to admit the truth. Kira stirred in Jake's arms. Uncle Jake, why is everyone so quiet? They're thinking, little one, Jake said softly. Thinking about how to stop the fighting. Kira said. Fighting is dumb. Ben stared at the child, then at Jake, then at Thyra. If what you are saying is true, then thousands of people have died for nothing. Not for nothing, Jake said. They died because their leaders could not find a way to talk to each other instead of shooting at each other. And you think you can do better? I think we have to try, Jake said. Ben, look around you. Your soldiers and hers are not fighting right now. They are listening. Maybe that is the first step. Captain Sullivan was quiet for a long time, finally. He spoke to his radio. All units cease fire. Repeat, cease fire. Stand down but maintain defensive positions. He looked at Thyra. Commander, will your people do the same? Thyra spoke quickly in her own language. The Zephyrian soldiers lowered their weapons, but remained alert. Now what? Ben asked. How we talk? Jake said. Like we should have done 3 years ago, and if the talking does not work? Jake looked down at Kira, who had fallen asleep in his arms despite all the noise and confusion. She looked so peaceful, so trusting, believed in a world where people could be friends instead of enemies. Then we keep trying, Jake said, for her sake. For all the children on both sides who deserve better than this war. Ben nodded slowly. You really believe peace is possible? I have to believe it, Jake said, because the alternative is too terrible to accept. Outside, the alien sun was beginning to rise, painting the damaged walls with golden light. For the first time in 3 years, human and Zephyrian soldiers were in the same place without trying to kill each other. It was a small beginning, but it was a beginning nonetheless. And sometimes, Jake thought as he held the sleeping child, small beginnings were the most important kind. 2 weeks had passed since the failed rescue mission became the first peace talk between humans and Zephyrians in 3 years. Jake found himself in a position he had never imagined. He was the bridge between 2 worlds. But he was also the target of those who wanted the war to continue. Uncle Jake, why do the bad people want to hurt you? Kira asked as they sat in the garden. She was making another crystal sculpture, this one showing many humans and Zephyrians standing together. Because they are afraid, Jake said simply. When people are afraid, they sometimes do bad things. But you are not scary. You are nice. Some people think that being nice to your enemies makes you weak, Jake explained. They think the only way to be safe is to fight. That is silly, Kira said, as she always did when adults talked about fighting. Jake smiled and ruffled her crystalline hair. Even after all this time, he was still amazed by how much he loved this alien child. She had become his daughter in every way that mattered. Admiral Patricia Stone had arrived 3 days ago with a full diplomatic team. She was a tough woman with gray hair and sharp eyes, but she had listened carefully to Jake's story. More importantly, she had watched how Kira climbed onto his lap during the meetings and how Thyra looked at him when she thought no one was watching. Commander Morrison, the Admiral had said after their first meeting, you have put us in a very difficult situation. Half of High Command wants to court-martial you for treason. The other half wants to give you a medal for finding a path to peace. What do you want to do? Jake had asked. I want to end this war, she had replied. If that means working with alien commanders and accepting that one of my officers has gone native, then so be it. But not everyone felt the same way. War Commander Zaxxus Morden had arrived with his own faction of Zephyrian hardliners. He was a massive warrior with dark red crystal skin and eyes like burning coals. He made no secret of his belief that Jake should be executed, and the war should continue until every human was dead. "The human corrupts our people," Zaxxas had declared in the council meeting. "Commander Veltar has forgotten her duty because of his influence. This weakness will destroy us." Thyra had stood up to defend Jake, her own crystal skin flashing with anger. "Commander Morrison saved my daughter's life at the cost of his own. He has shown more honor than any warrior I have known. If that is corruption, then I choose to be corrupted." The arguments had gone on for hours, with both sides growing more heated. Jake had watched it all, knowing that his presence was causing the very conflict they were trying to resolve. That night, as Jake tucked Kira into bed, she had asked him a question that broke his heart. "Uncle Jake, are you going to leave us?" "Would you ask that, little one? Because everyone is fighting about you? Mama is sad, and the scary red man wants you to go away. Maybe if you left, everyone would be happy again?" Jake had held her close, fighting back tears. "Do you want me to leave?" "No," Kira had said fiercely. "I want you to stay forever. But I do not want everyone to be angry because of me. This is not your fault," Jake had assured her. "None of this is your fault." But as he left her room that night, Jake had begun to wonder if maybe he should leave. Maybe his presence was causing more harm than good. The next morning brought terrible news. During the night, Zaxxas and his followers had attempted to assassinate Jake while he slept. They had been stopped by Thyra's guards, but in the fighting, one of the shots had gone wide. It had hit Kira's room. Jake arrived to find Thyra kneeling beside her daughter's bed, her hands glowing with healing energy as she tried to stop the bleeding from Kira's shoulder. The child was unconscious, her crystal skin pale and flickering weakly. "How bad is it?" Jake asked, his voice barely a whisper. "Bad," Thyra said without looking up. "The energy beam damaged her internal matrix. She may not survive." Jake felt his world crashing down around him. The child who had brought so much joy into his life was dying because people wanted to kill him. All of his hopes for peace seemed worthless in the face of Kira's pain. "This is my fault," he said. "No," Thyra said firmly. "This is the fault of those who choose violence over understanding. You did not fire the weapon." For 3 days, Kira fought for her life while the peace talks fell apart around them. Zaxxas had been arrested, but his supporters claimed Jake had corrupted their children and turned their warriors soft. Some humans agreed, saying that Jake's relationship with the aliens proved he could not be trusted. Jake spent every moment he could at Kira's bedside, holding her small hand and talking. To her, even though she could not hear him, he told her stories about Earth and promised her that when she got better, he would teach her to swim in the crystal pools behind the medical center. On the 3rd night, Kira opened her eyes. "Uncle Jake," she whispered. "I am here, little one," Jake said, tears streaming down his face. "I am right here. Did I miss anything important?" Jake laughed through his tears. "Nothing that matters. How do you feel? Tired and hungry? Can you make me some of that human food you told me about?" "I will make you anything you want," Jake promised. Thyra appeared beside them, her own eyes wet with relief. "The doctors say she will recover completely. She is strong, like her father was." Jake looked at Thyra and saw something in her expression that took his breath away. It was love, pure and simple.
Ow.
Not just gratitude or friendship, but real love. "Jake," she said softly, "I need to ask you something." "What?" "The peace talks have failed. Admiral Stone is returning to Earth tomorrow, and my superiors want to resume the war. You can go with her. You can return to your people and be a hero. No one would blame you." Jake looked down at Kira, who was listening with wide eyes. Then he looked back at Thyra. "What would happen if I stayed?" "You would be accepting the life bond permanently.
Odd.
According to our laws, you would become my family. My people would have to accept you as one of us, and your people, what would they think? Some would be angry. Others would see it as proof that peace is possible. It would be dangerous, but it might also be the beginning of something new." Jake was quiet for a long moment. He thought about his old life, his friends back on Earth, the career he had built. Then he looked at Kira's trusting face and Thyra's hopeful eyes. "Kira," he said, "what do you think I should do?" "Stay with us," Kira said immediately. "Please, Uncle Jake, we are your family now." "Yes," Jake said, his voice steady and sure. "We are family. And families stick together." Thyra's crystal skin flashed with joy and relief. "You certain? Once you accept the bond, there is no going back." "I am certain," Jake said. "This is where I belong." The formal ceremony took place a week later. Jake knelt before the Zephyrian council and spoke the ancient words that bound him to Thyra's family forever. "Now you are really my Uncle Jake," she said happily. Admiral Stone attended the ceremony before departing for Earth. "You know, this makes you the first human citizen of the Zephyrian Empire," she told Jake afterward. "I hope I will not be the last," Jake replied. "So do I. The war is not over, Jake. But what you have done here has given both sides something to think about. Maybe someday there will be more ceremonies like this one." 6 months later, the first official ceasefire was signed. It was not peace. Not yet, but it was a beginning. Human and Zephyrian delegations met on neutral ground to discuss trade agreements and prisoner exchanges. Jake and Thyra were there as advisors, with Kira playing quietly in the corner with toys from both worlds. She had human dolls and Zephyrian crystal sculptures, and she made them all friends in her games. "Look," Kira said, showing Jake her latest creation. It was a small crystal city with humans and Zephyrians living side by side. "This is what the future will look like." Jake picked her up and spun her around, making her laugh with delight. "Little one." Thyra joined them, slipping her hand into Jake's. She usually is. Children see things more clearly than adults. Jake looked around the room at the diplomats from both species working together, arguing sometimes, but talking instead of shooting. It was not perfect, but it was progress. "Do you ever regret your choice?" Thyra asked quietly. Jake looked at her, then at Kira, then at the mixed group of humans and Zephyrians who were slowly, carefully building a bridge between their worlds. "Never," he said. "This is exactly where I am supposed to be." Outside the conference center, 2 suns were setting over an alien landscape, painting the sky in colors that existed nowhere else in the universe. Human children and Zephyrian younglings played together in the courtyard below, their laughter echoing off crystal walls. It was not the ending Jake had expected when he first threw himself between an enemy child and an explosion, but it was better than anything he could have imagined. He had saved one child and found a family, and maybe, just maybe, he had helped save 2 civilizations in the process. The war was not over. But for the first time in years, peace seemed possible. And sometimes, Jake thought, as he watched Kira play with her new friends, that was the most important victory of all.